Possible Live. Welcome back if you're joining us again. And thank you for popping in and for joining us for replays and for sharing your feedback about our episodes, our discussions, our guests, our topics, and for all of you really amazing vibes. One of the things you're going to laugh about, and as we're doing this on a holiday, is the reminder for those of you who haven't gone live yet, and I totally forgot today. I muted my phone, but I did not mute the volume. And it's a real reminder as we're doing this and as I'm tuning in to join you on a holiday day of reflection for those who have really donated their lives of service on our behalf to fight for us. And today is Memorial Day in the US, and a day to really remember those mm, who donated their lives in service. One of the reasons behind today's title, besides the fact that in the process of celebrating my dad's life recently, I had an opportunity to learn more about what life was like for him in the service. Wasn't a discussion that we ever really had. I learned about the countries that he traveled to, the people that he met, his passion for learning and seeing, hi, Therese, how are you? And thanks for popping in and really for lending support and light. And in the process of celebrating Pop's life, I was really stuck on writing his obituary. And my mom happened to give me a paper that my dad wrote about life in the service and what it was like for him as a young man in a racially charged era that we've kind of, Pop and I had kind of talked about in other ways, but we never talked about it from the lens of how it appeared for him in the process of the service. He talked about friends that he loved and lost. We talked about other uncles, an uncle who was a Buffalo Soldier. And he actually fudged his age to be able to get into the service. And the real reminder that part of that is that they really are a big part of today's title. You are the wind beneath my wings. I I thought about this in the process of honoring Pop's life and honoring his service. And normally I would take possibly Memorial Day off unless Lachelle Atkins, America's Supermom, was joining me. We've done Impossible Lives on Memorial Days. We've done it on Labor Day. And she's helped me just celebrate from a different perspective. But I just want to thank you as you're popping in today and as Therese is joining us live and as others are honoring loved ones and discovering and learning about their service, is really just to take a few moments to encourage us as we are to think of those people who lift us up. And I've recently started talking more about my Pop and partially about his journey with dementia, with the conversations we had, with his love of writing, his passion for community, for what he wrote about as the brotherhood. But in these 6 pages, my Pop wrote about being in service and what it was like leaving home uh, a month after high school, and the intake or the introduction to the service, and not really having a chance because it was a racially charged era to really get to know some of the people that he was serving with. He didn't get to learn about them until it was time for them to leave the service and move on to the next station. And he talked about that journey of being a young man and of navigating life through the lens and learning about their different cultures and learning about their different families and learning about what was important to them. And they had gone through the indoctrination of the service, and Pop said that they had never really had a meal together until they left. So the reminder, as we're pausing, as we're honoring others, as you're maybe taking a few minutes to learn about those in your family or honor those in your life who have dedicated their lives of service, really think about all they do in their legacy and in their lives to really lift us up. I love this song, You Are the Wind Beneath My Wings. It means so much more to me in the process of grief and the lens of grief. But today I want to invite you to celebrate someone you love, someone who was in service, someone whose stories we don't necessarily know, and to learn from them. And as Therese is saying, veterans truly do make the ultimate sacrifice. And we don't always acknowledge it. One of my dad's first cousins went into the service and had some serious mental health issues and some serious uh, chronic issues that lasted him through his entire life. So basically, from like 18 to like his early 80s. And I really think and I appreciate it as Teresa's reminded me through the lens of my dad. I knew my dad loved to write, and I have a passion for writing, and I've been a little stuck in writing recently, and today I think that will change. So thank you for some accountability there. But that part that they're the wind beneath our wings, that they fight for freedom, for our rights, for our country, whether we're patriotic or not, whether we've learned ways to honor previously their service. One of the things in the process was learning to really respect different parts of their service in a different way and to look at it, ask about their stories, ask about their journeys, ask about their experiences, ask about that process of being recreated, of being remodeled, and a life of service. So I really want to thank some of our viewers who have, for many years, performed and been in the service. Rochelle Hemingway, retired Colonel John Boggs, Amanda Bertrand. I think of all these wonderful people I know who donate time, love, energy, whether it's at active duty, whether it's in retirement, whether it's in helping groom other leaders. And the wind beneath my wings part, today I'm kind of breaking a promise. I had promised my mom and my brother that I wasn't really going to talk about dad online. And I realized for myself, from the Impossible Live perspective, it's really the reminder during extended seasons of gratitude, grief, and growth. We need to get comfortable sometimes with what makes us uncomfortable so that we share it. I love that a dear friend called yesterday and we finally got in touch as her son, who is a Marine who is riding with the Nam Knights as they participate in different events for veterans across America. Whether we are patriotic, whether we acknowledge their love and their passion for defending others, for rising up, for really trying to lift others up. Some of the experiences, like Pop's first cousin, they transform their lives in different ways that you can have PTSD, you can have so many other different. Hi, Roshni. Thank you so much. Roshni's now singing the song in her heart for both of our dads. Such a beautiful song. And for those of you who are joining me and relatively new to Impossible Live, you'll see that we seriously are on a music theme. We will be for a while because music was my pop's love language. And it's a reminder, keep lifting ourselves up. And Therese, thank you so much for giving a shout out to another veteran who serves in many ways. In our comments, in our lives, in our conversations, please help us give shouts out to help honor those who serve, especially those who aren't here to shout their names out. Found a beautiful picture. Thanks, Mom, for finding it, of my dad in a uniform back in the day. Must have been 18 or 19, just having a moment to relax. He looked like the world was in his hand. He looked like he had no fear. And I know from his writing, he's acknowledging the stress, what was uncomfortable. And I thank him for having the courage always to have those conversations with me, whether it was about the spiritual side, whether it was about exploring coaching. My pop loved Zoom. He loved having conversations, and you know, it's it's an interesting thing as we're trying to figure out different ways to honor legacies, to grasp on to what inspires us in our fragile world. Know that you are thought of, you are honored. There's somebody around who lifts you up when you have a chance. Lift a glass to them in gratitude. Save that extra empty seat around the table. Share some stories. Explore their legacy. Look them up in a family tree. Ask an elder about some of the stories. And we're rapidly becoming a generation where we rarely exchange those lifelong stories until someone we love is no longer with us. Those 6 pages that my pop wrote about discrimination in the service stuck with me so much that I was then able to finish writing his obituary and to include 3 or 4 paragraphs of it. And I want to thank you, Dell, because Dell is reminding us that next week is the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings. There are so many different ways. And we're in a world that doesn't necessarily define acts of service. I remember becoming an entrepreneur and people talking about becoming an entrepreneur is about serving others. But I'm really thinking, especially today, about their ultimate sacrifice on our behalf. How lucky we were to have people to take the oath of service. I also want to thank Della, she's joining us, for sharing wonderful stories about her amazing parents. There are generations, and we are in danger sometimes of losing that history, of losing the discovery of their gems, of their experience, of really taking and having a chance to honor their lives. Pop would be 90 next month. And in his absence, we'll figure out a new way to honor him and to honor his legacy. And we'll continue to share stories. Please share stories. Listen to the stories of those who are in service. And yep, Therese, yep, the storytelling is definitely enriching us by keeping our loved ones' legacy alive. So much of this song, and I remember listening to this amazing song as a soundtrack in a movie and looking at it another way in terms of water, in terms of light, but in terms of the celebration of life. When you have a chance, there's somebody around somewhere who you haven't had a chance to honor, say thank you to, or share a wonderful story about. And I want to thank you so much for joining us today because Therese and Roshni are really popping in to say it with love and light. We really need to thank those who are the wind beneath our wings. We would never learn how to fly without them. We would never have the courage to reach for dreams, to reach for goals, to show up in different ways. I smiled because someone had a LinkedIn poll recently, Catherine Hood, and she wanted us to rate ourselves from introvert to extrovert. And Catherine laughed because Mel rated herself as a 3. And it's the reminder now as I'm starting to explore new ways to share stories, new ways to help clients, friends, loved ones share their stories. But I really want to thank you all for being the wind beneath my wings. This was a song that I kept on autoplay, probably almost 3 decades ago after losing 2 of our grandparents within 24 hours on each side of the family. I kept in this song in a CD player for almost 6 months. Kind of listened to it almost every single day when I came in from work in the attempt to rebalance. Uh, Reminds me also of the song You'll Never Know That You're My Hero. I also want to thank those who've given an opportunity in podcasts and discussions for me to be able to share stories about my pop. They are so helping. Besides prayers and love and light, and those sending amazing healing energy, just really want to thank you. We need the help. We need the wind. We need the breeze. We need the smiles across the miles. And thank you for sharing them, for sending them. If somebody you're thinking of is the wind beneath your wings and you haven't had a chance yet, please reach out. Please reach out. And as we're in Mental Health Awareness Month, know that this continues, this journey, this challenge of expressing deep emotions, of expressing grief. I especially think of it from the lens that a couple of months ago, we had our celebration, gratitude, grief, and growth of our 100th live. I knew that week that would be Pop's last week with us. I knew that they were at the end of being able to really make space for him to maintain the quality of life that he really wanted to live. And I know that the discussions about grief are sometimes really uncomfortable. I want to thank those of you who've been reaching out to make sure finding our way above as we honor. And it's interesting, considering I had never really had a direct conversation with my dad about a service, reaching the point where we were about to lay him to rest and seeing that flag on his casket. I had seen other flags and been to other services for grandparents, for friends, for loved ones, as someone thanked my mother for his service. Somewhere in you, there is somebody somewhere. Reach out when you have a chance to celebrate them, celebrate their life, celebrate their legacy, and try it from a perspective of gratitude, because I am so grateful for those and your acts of service. So grateful for a chance to learn a little bit more about my amazing pop. And as you're celebrating guardian angels, and I really appreciate you for tuning in today for a few minutes. And Teresa and Roshni, thank you so much for joining me on and all you're doing to help lift others up from a health and wellness perspective. Got to introduce the two of you if you haven't had a chance to meet, because you two are really incredible. And I want to thank you for all you do to help us heal and help us explore healing. Have a magnificent day filled with opportunities and with possibilities. And thanks for sharing your stories, for listening to our stories, for honoring our loved ones and those who serve and continue to serve well. Grateful. Take great care. Stay safe, stay well, stay inspired, and please stay in touch.